Let's have a look at QANX. Again, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Amir. I have a YouTube channel. It's entertainment value only, not financial advice. I do a weekly update on Bitcoin, QANX, Quant Platform, and TRVLD travel. It's just for fun, just for entertainment. I'm not connected in any meaningful way at all with the Quant Platform project. I'm just a strong believer in the future of quantum computing and the probability, or the possibility and probability, that quantum computing is probably going to break every other layer one, and there's a real future market for this. So I do this for fun. The Quant Platform community are amazing. I love them. They're very loyal. There's a lot of good vibes and energy in this community, and I'm a strong advocate for trust and transparency and technologies which have the potential to change the course of history. I really believe that Quant Platform is one of those technologies. I strongly believe that. It's just a personal, it's almost like a gut feeling, but I was looking at their website this week, Quant Platform website, and there's so much potential good that can happen here. It's not just about the technology being quantum resistance, although that is definitely the selling factor, but it's also the royalties. I like that. I like the idea of getting developer royalties. Yeah, not coding, not having to learn a specific language. So look, this is it. No need to learn a new language. You can use your existing knowledge and code in any. I think that's amazing. And actually, what's going to happen is that in the future, obviously, you're just going to type into AI and AI will do it. But how amazing is that? It just opens every realm of possibility when it comes to programming and developing ideas into something like QANX or Quant Platform, the blockchain. This is really interesting, getting developer royalties. And so it's talking about the idea of GitHub rewarded developers when a code is getting reused. The idea of a GitHub type scenario, which rewards developers when their code is reused. And so if someone is developing some game or something, or a platform or an application where others reuse the code or do something with the code to develop other things, then that reused code is somehow allows those developers to earn. I don't know how that's actually going to work. You're going to have to go in there and do your own research, but it sounds interesting. I hope it works. And I don't really understand this. It's to do with quantum resistant proof of randomness, something to do with quantum resistance blockchain. Go there to click on learn more, and you can figure it out. You can do your own research. So I think this is really interesting. And let's have a look at their X page. 5 hours ago, industry first signal when Airbus starts planning for fault tolerant quantum. It's no longer about demos, it's about deployment. A lot of big companies are pivoting into developing or protecting their legacy technology with quantum resistant technology. And so I think Quant Platform is gearing itself up to be the one which big companies potentially use. This was from Jan the 14th, from 3 days ago. Bitcoin's post-quantum migration clock has started. The next upgrade cycle won't be about speed or fees. It will be about cryptographic survival. And this is Jan the 9th. So I think I've already looked at that. So let's kind of have a look at the charts and see what's happening. Well, I talked about the possibility of this bullish engulfing candle revisiting the lows. We've actually done that. We've gone all the way down to the bottom. Potentially putting in a higher low here. 2 cents is still resistance, which is what I talked about, didn't I? Actually, let me go to the correct chart because I did it on the other, this one, so whatever. Let me just update this, sorry. Don't know why I did that last 2 weeks ago. Yeah, that's better. So as always, I'm just going to update the volume as well. Let's have a look at these. So who knows? Possibly, yeah. Bearish buy, and we've got this expanded flat idea. That we've hit that weekly level, we've hit the daily level, we've cleared those levels. Let's have a look at these volume levels. Let's update the volume while we're here. No real changes with the volume. It would be nice if we get volume here and we kind of move the point of control down. That's kind of what I want to see. Just real accumulation here. I think we're coming into a good area to accumulate. I think the reason why I say that is because you can see here, there was accumulation here. There's a higher low here. Forget this bridge hack. Just ignore it for a second. And this is kind of, we haven't actually entered into this area, have we? But somewhere around here, kind of slightly higher than this area. And actually that's the pivot, isn't it? That's the pivot, the value area low. It does depend on Bitcoin. I think it's really important to note. So if you haven't looked at watch my Bitcoin video, just go on my Bitcoin video from today, or go earlier on this live stream, or just wait for the Bitcoin video to come out. If Bitcoin dumps just because of the way the market works and the way the market moves together, the altcoins will dump. Yeah, it's just that becomes an opportunity, but that does mean we go lower. And so if Bitcoin now starts to pump, then we could get a push to hit that point of control. If Bitcoin now kind of dumps, we could go down again, huh? It's possible, and hit that value area low. No one can predict that. And at the moment, it looks like Bitcoin is deciding what happens. And part of what's happening with Bitcoin is to do with global news. I think something that's interesting, or something that's worth considering, is this situation in Iran. And I should have talked about that in my Bitcoin video, which I didn't. I'll talk about it here because obviously the QANX enthusiasts are more excited in my streams. So every time Iran or Israel had a kind of tete-a-tete, the price crashed, didn't it? Let me just have a look on AI. When did Israel and Iran exchange missiles? Let's have a look. In the last 2 years. Let's have a look. Let's see what AI says. It's at least twice, huh? You had that 12-day war situation, and then you have the initial direct exchanges. This was it, yeah. There's a few kind of dates. I think every single time that happened, the price of crypto crashed, and then it was the pivot low. Yeah, that's really what it was. And so I could kind of go to April the 13th. Let's have a look. Let's go to the week. Let's go to the weekly time frame. 2024. Let's have a look at this. Let's just hide this. So actually here, look, it's interesting. That was actually a pivot higher. The QANX was pumping, and then that happened, and then it just went all the way down. Oof. Israel responded. That was the beginning. October the 1st. Let's have a look at that. This was October. And so that was the pivot. It was kind of like a pivot low. Afterwards, it went up. So the first one was, it went down. The second one, it went up. October 1st, October 26th. That was a pivot low. The first one was a pivot high. That was a pivot low. Let's have a look at the 12-day war. June the 13th, 2025. Look at that. That was another pivot low, huh? So in those three situations, one was a pivot high, and this was a pivot low, and then that was a pivot, another pivot low. So the first one was scared everyone, didn't it? So that's how I view it. This was a scare, but then the market realized that was it. The second one, no one was bothered, and the third one, no one was bothered. Maybe this fourth one is going to be the breakthrough. I don't know, but I'm just imagining that America does attack. Speculative, not financial advice. I have no idea, obviously. I'm not informed. I'm just speculating. As always, it's just for fun. Why do I say that? Well, there was something there was a X post that I was looking at. I thought they would attack 2 days ago, and Trump actually called it off last minute for whatever reason. It's 4D chess, whatever. But this is interesting. This is the post. Let me pull it across. "168 hours. The Pentagon just told you exactly when the strike happens. You weren't listening. USS Abraham Lincoln, 7 days from strike position. USS George H.W. Bush, 10 days from the Mediterranean. Al Udeid Air Base evacuating personnel. Trump, the killing has stopped. This is not de-escalation. This is the countdown. Here's the mechanism no one is tracking. You do not clear 10,000 troops from your largest Middle East base for a diplomatic resolution. You clear them when you expect Iranian missiles to hit that base. The Udeid sits 200 kilometers from Iran. Shahab 3 is reached in 4 minutes. The evacuation is not retreat. It's battlefield clearance. The US is removing its hostage pieces to unlock the heavy pieces. Now, the kill shot. Iran just imported 5,000 Iraqi militia fighters to massacre Iranian protesters, etc. I think a war is coming, a big one, huh? A big war is coming, and it's going to be a deafening killer blow to the regime, to the Iranian regime. Now, so that post was posted January the 16th. That was yesterday. It's January the 7th. This is saying what, 10 days for the second ship to be in position? 168 hours. Let's just go back to AI. 168 hours in days. What does that say? 7 days, huh? It's saying 7 days, but actually this one is saying that the USS George H.W. Bush is 10 days from the Mediterranean. So let's just assume he waits 10 days. From yesterday, that's 9 days from today. That would put it, so we're the 7th, so basically the 26th of Jan. Somewhere around there, end of the month. And then we get a quick end to that war. That will be the buy of the dip, the buy the dip of a lifetime, I think, because again, it's the same idea. Pivot, 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 bam. That's kind of what, and then that might be it. That might be the breakthrough, because Iran is a very wealthy natural resource country. And at the moment, they're selling oil on the black market cheap to China. All of that comes into the West's control, effectively. And also, it removes a major ally from Russia. So it puts pressure on Russia as well, because now Russia isn't getting these drones to use in its wars. So there's a lot of things happening in the real world geopolitically, which could signal a crazy bull market this year. A lot of things are happening. And I think if we do see the end of this regime, that's going to be positive. And if that puts pressure and Russia ends up negotiating some kind of long-term ceasefire, it's all positive if that all happens this year. So I am thinking, I'm not saying that the low is in at the moment, but because of the volume is low, and that's really important. So when you're looking at the charts, you're looking at the volume, aren't you? The volume is low, isn't it? It's still low. And because we're not seeing that crazy volume, there's no reason why we don't take out that pivot low again for a final pivot low explosion. It's possible, huh? Whereas this is also possible to make a pivot. I think this depends on Bitcoin. It depends on Bitcoin. There's a lot of geopolitical factors. We do need to see a strong high volume break of roughly around 2 cents, yeah? And that would be really nice, because once you break 2 cents, however it happens, with volume, have a nice back test, and then we're out of here, aren't we? It's like a higher time frame failed auction, and probably then we can start moving quite quickly to the upside. Bam, bam, bam. I think then the market has totally changed, and we're no longer going down. We're going to be pumping up, up, up. So I think when you're trying to accumulate, because the volume is low and you're obviously not trying to buy large amounts at once because of the slippage, it's probably a good area to start dollar cost averaging in. Do we just take out these low one more time for another swing failure, or do we go and hit the value area low, which would be nice too? But then you do want to see explosion. We do want to reclaim 2 cents. We do want to smash through the point of control, and then we do want to move all the way up to the value area high. I think once that happens, then we're back into the higher time frame analysis I did 3 weeks ago. Yeah. But I mean, I think if we do get back into this lower trend line, for me that becomes really bullish. Then we could possibly have a wave 3. Let's say they launch the mainnet. Who knows? Whatever. We don't really know what's going to happen, but right now you can see that we've lost this trend line. If you can get back into that triangle, that's really bullish. You could just smash through, huh? 1, 2, 3. Maybe that outer trend line doesn't really resist anymore, because it's really bearish, obviously, to lose that triangle. But let's say if you can get back in, getting back into a bearish pattern is actually quite bullish. It's not quite bullish, it's really bullish. Reclaiming the point of control would be really bullish, or putting in a lower point of control. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I think Bitcoin is going to determine a lot of things. Just keep your eye on Bitcoin. But the other thing that we're looking for, so I'll keep those. Let's just call that. We'll call that final drop, and then explosion. Obviously, the thing that people are really focused on is the mainnet. When is the mainnet coming? Go and have a look at the Telegram for information. I have a look. I always kind of keep an eye on the Telegram channel to see what's going on, see what people are saying. This is the unofficial trading channel. We've successfully integrated the audited QVM and audited QANX link modules into the QAN testnet. As a next step, we're migrating the whole underlying QAN testnet infrastructure from the traditional setup to whatever this is. This will increase the operational resiliency, enables us to gradually roll out incremental upgrades. This is taking longer than planned. Of course, I did say that, didn't I? I told you back in December, but whatever. We need about 3 more weeks in January to finish this Kubernetes-based orchestration system before launching the QAN. So that will be the final step, launching the new QAN, the version 2, the QAN testnet. And once the testnet is up, then I think the next step after that will be the mainnet. I don't think there'll be anything else. I think then the QAN testnet has to be audited, I guess, by hacking again, make sure it's all working as intended, and then we'll have a mainnet launch. Who knows when, but I guess it's what I've been saying. I guess it's going to coincide with some big news with a quantum chip. Why not? Why wouldn't IBM say, hey, we've just created a 20,000 qubit chip or whatever, and then launch the QAN at the same time, the QAN mainnet, the QANX mainnet at the same time. I think that's kind of, why wouldn't they do that? I would, if I was in charge. And you've got the official channel here, people also chatting here. Yeah. And the other interesting thing is when you look at the previous altcoin markets, and this is something I've been keeping an eye on, is the Russell 2000. Got it here somewhere. There it is, RTY. Whenever the Russell 2000 has an all-time high breakout, which we're in now, look at that. This is the Russell 2000. This is, look, we've just taken the all-time high. The last time the Russell 2000 did that, that was the let me just delete that. Get rid of this. Look at that. It took out the all-time high. This was November 2020. And then that's when altcoins went crazy parabolic. It was here, wasn't it? Look, see that? That was the crazy alt season. That was after the Russell 2000 was able to cleanly break the previous all-time high. Every time it does that, you have a crazy run. There, that was the same thing. Look, December 2016, and look how it ran, didn't it? It ran. The altcoins, there weren't so many back then. And so we're in a really important stage here now where the Russell 2000 looks like it's doing the same thing. And we might get the same kind of behavior where we get a little kind of pumpy pump on the Russell 2000. That's risk on. And we may get, it is possible we get a crazy alt season. I should have done this in the Bitcoin video. I haven't done it yet. So I'll do it here. The QAN video, QANX video. So there's a lot of things that align. It's almost like the stars are aligning, aren't they? Very interesting. So that's my kind of QAN platform, QANX update. I think we're in a good place now for continued accumulation. Just looking at these higher time frame candles, I'll just quickly have a look at them. Have a look at the weekly candle. Last week was a lower close. This could be a doji. If this is a nice doji, then maybe next week we can go up. We can have a nice reversal here. We'll have to see how the week closes. And obviously you've got this monthly candle. Last month was actually quite nice because it was like a swing failure of these monthly lows. This month is just kind of filling in the gap. If we don't close lower, we don't really want to close lower. If we don't close lower than last month, then I think next month we're going to get a really nice strong green candle here. That's what I'm imagining. If we don't close lower, I don't want us to close lower, but if we don't close lower with a buying tail, maybe a higher low, then we could have another swing failure, or we could have a higher low and smash up. That's kind of what I'm imagining on the monthly time frame. So I do think we're kind of somewhat putting in a pivot here. I don't know how low it's going to go. It's not the place to sell. It's going to be the place to buy. Not financial advice. All right. That's my Quan platform update. I hope that helps you enjoy life a little bit. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm trying to get to 1,000, and obviously I'm going to cut this video up, and then when I post it, feel free to share it later. All right. Any questions?